your not so great Britain.
Chapter 4. Home Sweet Home. Tiny, mouldy home.
Hello again from your not so great Britain. I'm Elisę in Florence.
And I'm Tomasz, and now I'm in Helsinki. Hello.
So, Tomasz, how are you settling in Finland?
It's very interesting, I have to say. There's some bureaucracy to be done. I'm still looking for my first work, but what I have to say, I'm really impressed about the housing standards after 17 years in Britain. It's just a different world. So what about we talk about this today?
Sounds good, yeah.
You moved out of Britain some time ago as well, and you're living in Italy, and you're living in Florence, and from what I hear, it's one of the most expensive places to live because of tourists and Airbnb and everything. And how's life for you? You got much mold in your rotten basement on the outskirts of the town, or that's not really the story of housing in Florence?
I have zero mold. I moved into a flat, in a block of flats. It must have been built around the 60s or 70s. So compared to other places I've lived in, it's not super up to date. Like, for example, we don't have double glazing at the windows, which would be super important now considering the cost of heating. But all in all, it's good enough condition for an old building. And most importantly, I think the biggest difference that really struck me compared to when I lived in the UK is the size of the flat that we can afford. We moved here last year. COVID was very much a thing still. I mean, not that it's gone away completely now, but it's definitely better. And tourism has come back with a vengeance now. So I don't know, but probably things have changed since last year. But still, we pay 850 euros per month without the bills, and we can afford a double bedroom, double bathroom flat with 3 balconies compared to our flat in Cambridge, which was very nice and very well kept, I have to say, by the standards I was used to in the UK. But it only had 1 bathroom, 1 bedroom, and it always felt a bit cramped, really. And we paid, I think, £1,150 per month. So it's
Wow.
it's a big difference. Yeah.
And then a council tax on the top of it, yeah?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so we have a bit of Cambridge prices here in Helsinki, I guess, as we pay over 1,200 euros. But it is also a double bedroom, as you would say in Britain, or a free room, as they say in Finland, because we got 2 bedrooms and a living room. And we have a nice big kitchen with enough space to put a table in this. And we have also a glazed balcony, and the building is also from 1960s, but it has been refurbished in recent years. So while some of those switches for the light are really 1960s style, but everything is refreshed, and we got triple glazing with built-in Venetian blinds, and well, I guess it has to be because of the winter, but still. But what really struck me at first, that this flat is really huge. You've been to our old flat in Cambuslang, and that was 2 bedroom as well. And this is just, I think it's like 50% bigger. I'm joking you not. Like a bedroom is enough. Actually, we can put a link because I did a Twitter thread about that, and there are some pictures, and then I put it on my blog, so we can put a link in the description of this podcast. But basically, your bedroom when you were staying with us. You remember how small it was after you put bed in. There was barely any space to move. Now I'm sitting in our spare bedroom and I got like this giant IKEA corner desk when it's enough place for my computer and all my like desk things, speakers and my giant monitor and everything. And I still have enough space to put my keyboard next to me. And behind that, I got the same mattress. You were sleeping on it, and it takes maybe half of the length of the wall. So it's just huge compared to like British standards. And our living room, I think I could easily make like a 3-point turn with my car in it.
Wow.
So it's just huge. It's like 70 or almost 80 meters, square meters, this flat. And you can say, well, yeah, but you pay twice what you were paying in Cambuslang. And on paper, you may be right, but you have to remember, if we were paying like 500 something pounds in Cambuslang, we still had to pay council tax on the top of that. And we still had to pay our like ginormous electricity bills because we had this electric heaters, which of course were crazy. And recently, just before we moved, we got a new estimate for our bills, and it would be expected from us that we would pay £249 per month. And here, I just spoke with Ula, with my girlfriend, and I'm not believing this is right because we got a bill for October, and we got really pennies. It's just, I couldn't believe how cheap it is.
Wow.
And we got this district heating, which is just, you just got heaters in your flat and they just are warm from some central facility somewhere in the town. But, you remember how we struggled to fit bicycles into our flats?
Yeah, I can remember that.
Yeah, and as someone who lived in Glasgow for 17 years, I'm very familiar with the problem of storing bicycles. I lived in various places like tenement houses, and people were either keeping the bicycles in their flats, like we did, or they were like chaining them outside in the close to like the staircase railings and stuff like that, which was of course obstructing the stairs if you were carrying some furniture or whatever. And also it was sometimes considered to be fire hazard. So some factors were chasing you from doing that. Some didn't care. But here, we got a big bicycle garage in the basement of our building. And apart from that, we got our own storage in the bunker because we got this air raid shelter.
Oh,
That's in Finland.
Yeah, I saw that on Twitter. I love that.
Yeah, and everyone has a compartment there, which is like, 2 meters per 1.5 meters wide with shelving and everything. So you can put all your camping gear, and my roof box, which was living under my bed in the bedroom before. Now it lives in the basement. But that's not the end of it, because we also have a chilled storage compartment when there's refrigeration system. And it's always 10 degrees. So if you want to store your potatoes or whatever, you can do that. But here, disclaimer, because it's not so commonly used, they now switch it off in our building. And if we really wanted, we could get the space in building next doors. But we don't, because we got 2 full-size fridges in our kitchen, which is also really nicely fitted with like induction.
Yeah, that sounds really fancy.
Yeah, we got like induction cooker and built-in microwave and built-in dishwasher, and like furniture are really not the newest one, but are really good quality. And you remember in our old British flat, when we moved in, they made a brand new kitchen, but they did it in the cheapest way possible. So, for example, we had like the cheapest cooker, cheapest fridge. We also had the cheapest and smallest washing machine there, which we asked the landlord to remove. Then we put our full-size one with dryer in it. And the furniture was so cheap that when you order these modules, like the kitchen cabinets and everything, of course, the drawer units are the most expensive. So there was not a single drawer in our kitchen because the landlord just wanted to have it.
That,
Yeah. You remember that was quite a new building. I think it was like 15 years old or whatever, the one we lived in Scotland. And we had a mold problem. We had mold in our living room. We had mold in our bedroom. And we were fighting with that using all those chemicals. And it was always coming back. And here, there is not a single drop of mold even in the basement where they are like heaters and everything. The basement is fresher and drier than your average Scottish flat. And that's despite that in the basement there's a toilet, there's showers, there's sauna in there, and yet it's all immaculately clean and dry and warm and well lit, and it's just amazing. I remember I lived in one building in Scotland that had a basement. It was actual building where people lived in. And there were like stairs down to the basement, and there was like water sitting there, and there was moss, and there were some mushrooms growing off the walls. That was the basement. You could like shoot horror movies in there. Yes, you can say that may be more expensive than you pay in Glasgow, but apparently it's much cheaper when we are talking about quality to what you were paying in Cambridge.
Yeah, it's definitely better value for money.
Yeah, and Helsinki is a capital city, so it is the most expensive one in Finland.
There's also that.
But also you have to remember that you don't pay council tax, you don't pay your crazy high electricity bills. Yes, you do pay some water bills and like minor things like that, but it's really pennies. And we also pay for parking for a car, which is I think 20 per month, pennies as well. But there is like electric pole, so you can plug your car's heater. And in the winter, just come to your car. And of course, I mounted that into my car now. So I'm coming to my car and the engine is warm to start. And my interior of the car is warm as well because I got this blower heater.
Yeah.
So, it's just different standards and all those like little things like bidet, like there are those all like minor things that seems obvious if you think about that, but you just, when you live in Britain, you just don't realize how they can make your life easier. For example, I don't have to mention that we have mixer taps, so we don't have one tap with hot water and one tap with cold water, and you need to put a sticker that hot water may be hot and you can be scalded, because it's all mixer tapes. They got extra like button on the top of them. So you can only open it as much, and you got warm water. And if you really want hot water, you need to press this button, and then you can go with the handle up to give you like full flow of hot water. And this is made exactly so you don't scald your hands. This is such a simple thing. And I don't know, it probably costs pennies. How much the water faucet may be worth 20 quid or whatever, but yet it's something that for someone used to British standards would be unimaginable.
So I'm not sure I understood. Do you have a bidet in your flat in Finland?
I don't have bidet as like separate bowl to the toilet, but I got this bidet head, like kind of shower thingy, so you can use that when you're sitting on the toilet bowl, basically. Okay,
well, that's something, because, I mean, as you know, bidet is pretty much kind of like sacred in Italy. And we still can't get over the fact that other countries don't have it. Needless to say, I didn't have it back in Cambridge, although I did once find a flat that I ended up not taking, because basically it was a flat carved out in an old Victorian house with some really crazy arrangements where one door that would have been in the bedroom opened into the hall where everyone passed. So I didn't take it, but that one had bidet, and that really surprised me. But yeah, sorry, I interrupted you. Carry on.
No, that's basically it. I was just really shocked to see that the standards are so different to what we are used from Britain. But also, I did some digging, and I found out that actually Britain has one of the smallest houses in Europe. Like the rooms are the smallest, and like the square meter values per capita are the smallest in all of Europe.
That doesn't surprise me at all. I remember when we moved into this flat in Italy, we sent the pictures to a friend of ours, an English friend, and she said, well, wow, compared to English flats and houses, that is like, I don't know, a palace. She did mention something. She works for the government in some civil service position, and she mentioned British houses being among the smallest in Europe. And also, I remember when I visited my boyfriend's family at his, we visited them in their house where my boyfriend grew up, and we were staying in his old bedroom. And I remember wondering, how did he live in such a small bedroom? Because basically there was space for his bed and pretty much nothing else, not even a desk really, and a really small one maybe, but yeah, that felt very, very cramped.
Yeah, and I've been to your family house, and your room was like huge compared to. I probably could find flats in Britain that were smaller than your childhood
Yeah,
room.
absolutely, yeah.
So I know exactly what you mean. But, it is also reflected, as we have discovered, in the size of furniture, because we brought our British bed to here, but it was delayed because I still had it on the van, and this move was very complicated. And because my girlfriend was sleeping on the floor on this carry mate, let's just buy the mattress. We want some more comfortable mattress anyway. So we buy this mattress, and then when the bed arrives, we just put this new mattress on it, and we get rid of our old mattress. And we went to IKEA, and we bought ourselves a really comfortable mattress. We were very happy with it. And then the bed arrived, and it turns out that British king size is smaller than European king size.
Yeah, I found that out as well, actually, because we bought new duvet covers, new bedding, and we realized that the duvet cover for a king size duvet was actually double the size of our English king size duvet. That I was really surprised.
I don't know about that, but the mattress is definitely, the European king size is 10 centimeters wider than the British. It's the same length, but 10 centimeters wider. And we are talking about IKEA standards, because our old mattress was from IKEA as well. So we just went there, we looked for the mattress, we looked there, they even have the same beds as we do. And it just for the British market, they are 10 centimeters more narrow, because they probably need to be smaller to fit into those tiny British flats.
That's funny. I had no idea. Yeah, I discovered only recently.
Yeah, me neither. So that was something surprise. And now we have this IKEA card after we return this mattress. We need to buy something else in IKEA because they don't pay you cash. They just give you this coupon to exchange for other IKEA products. But this was really amazing for us. That's the houses are so big. And I'm from Poland, so I grew in the house that was built pre-war, and it was German before the war, because I'm from Wrocław. So it's a bit different standards. But when you go, when I was going for holidays or visiting some friends in eastern parts of Poland, their rooms and their flats are also bigger if they live in the old buildings. The minimalistic small tiny flats only started in 50s and 60s, when communist Poland was rebuilding after destruction of the war, because in some cities, I think my hometown was destroyed in 90% or whatever. Warsaw was basically razed down to the ground. It looked like Hiroshima after the war. So they needed plenty of flats quickly. And that's why most of Eastern Europe and also East Germany is covered with this prefabricated tower blocks, which may have small rooms and dark kitchens and everything. But I would still think that they are in many ways superior to some of the British housing, because the flats may be small, but if you look at the maps of those housing estates, there's always plenty of greenery between the blocks, and some little parks and children playgrounds. And usually on this big housing estates, there's always a lot of infrastructure, like kindergartens, schools, shops, surgeries, and everything. And this is brilliant. And then recently I looked in completely unrelated thing. Someone posted a picture of a new housing estate that is being constructed near him somewhere in England, Worcestershire, I never know how to pronounce that.
Worcestershire?
I guess.
Oh my God.
I guess so, yeah. You know, the one that had much too many letters and
Yes.
you pronounce that short. And there is also this funny sauce from there.
Yeah.
Anyway, someone posted this like screenshot from this Google satellite view and I said like, look at this. There is solar panels on the roof. And I look at this and solar panels, okay. But what really drew my attention was they weren't like terraced houses, but they were like 1 meter from each other. So you had a wall, then you had like 1 meter gap and another building starts, which is just ridiculous, either for the economical reasons because of insulation problems, but also of the fire safety. Either you just do terraced houses or you just keep them apart. So when one is on fire, the next one won't go burn down. But what really struck me, there was a van parked across one of the houses, and the van was actually longer than the front wall of the house. So that means that the house was like 7 meters wide or something.
Wow.
You know?
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, and also about the housing in the in Poland, like as in the Czech Republic. What I saw, for example, in Hradec Králové, not too far from Prague, there's still these, big housing estates that are not very pleasing to the eye, and the flats might be a bit small. But the council is really working hard on renewing them and making them, not just more appealing, but also more up to date and more habitable. So I think that is another big difference. I feel like when I lived in the UK, I often felt that when it came to housing, they tried to do, like landlords or the council tried to do the bare minimum just to save money, pretty much. As an example, I remember the stove. Yeah, the stove in my first flat broke, and we contacted the agent that rented this flat to us. He sent somebody over to replace the stove, and then they just left the stove in the garden to rot for months. And the agent, we asked the agent, well, what should we do about the stove? It's out there in the garden. Are you going to pick it up? Yeah, I'm coming next week. And then like 3 months passed, and it was just there, abandoned in the garden, rotting away. It's just, I think it's very telling of the attitude I've seen.
Yeah, and actually, I'm learning that here the hard way in Finland as well, because you've been to our flat and, we were renting from one of these biggest landlords in Glasgow. I will name and shame Loader Homes. And they were terrible. When we moved to the flat, there were like several things that we were promised will be fixed before we move in, and they never fixed them. So we were chasing them. So it took them like 2 weeks to plug our cooker because we were unable to cook because it took them 2 weeks to plug everything in the kitchen and stuff like that. And some of the things I was chasing them for years, literally years. And last summer we were flooded. That was actually a water problem in the flat upstairs, but it caused some electric short circuit in our fire prevention system, and we had this alarm blasting for no reason and errors on the panel, and all the time I was reporting that to them for months, and they never did anything about that. And finally the water that was dripping from the flat above, there was enough water gathering above our ceiling that the ceiling just gave up, and we had a giant flood into our flat.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that.
Yeah, and then we had this fixed because they had no other choice. And then when we already has builders in the flat, I just told the agency I won't let them out until they fix like other stuff I'm finding with you guys for 2 years to fix. And they fixed most of that, but some of the things weren't fixed at all from the moment we moved in to the moment we moved out, they were still waiting to be fixed, and it was 3 years. Moreover, there was like a secure door entry to the close with like buzzer to let people in and everything. And that was broken, according to our neighbors, 6 months before we moved in.
Wow.
And as we were moving out, it was still not fixed.
Oh, okay.
So, it was just a joke. And, if I was paid for every hour I needed to spend, like writing emails, calling them on the stupid call center, or chasing the people who were in theory responsible for our flat. But first of all, they were unable to do anything. And secondly, they were changing all the time. So as soon as you got into some understanding with one guy, he was moved to another position, and you had someone new, and it was a disaster. And now in Finland, we moved in, and Ulla, my girlfriend, said, she told to the landlord, listen, auntie, this like a cabinet here, it has some like slight water damage at the bottom. I'm not happy with that. And she said, okay, of course, no problem. We are going to change it. And as they were changing that, 2 tiles came off the wall. And it turns out that the tiles are not sitting properly on the wall, because when they were renovating the flat 3 years ago, there's like a layer of some waterproof cement along the walls and in the floor, and that was not done properly. They did some wrong proportions when they were doing the mix. So as it dried out, imagine a sandcastle which sits in its shape as long as the sand is wet, but then it starts crumble when the sand dries out. Yeah. So this is the situation with a wall in the bedroom, and as soon as someone started to do something, it's all falling apart. So that has to be fixed. And I have to say, it took them a couple of weeks to deal with that, because they were taking different specialists, and they were trying, okay, maybe we just took these 5 tiles and then we replaced that. And as they removed these 5 tiles, the other tiles starting falling apart. So then they said, okay, so let's do the whole wall. But they did the whole wall, and they see that it's also on the other walls. Then they had some experts to come and drill some holes and took samples. And then after they established what's the problem with that, there was some back and forth, because nobody wanted to take responsibility for that. And that already probably sounds scary to anyone who was renting in Britain. But then the housing company said, okay, we will fix it because you need your bedroom. And then we will chase whoever responsible is for this mistake after that. So we need to set up the tender to get new company to do it. And I was like, oh no, that will take ages. The tender was announced in Wednesday. On Friday, the new company came to see what needs to be done, and they started work this Wednesday, actually. Okay. So that's mean that our bathroom is now out of use, but that's not a problem, because as I mentioned, we got the toilet and the showers in the basement. So it is a bit annoying if you need to go downstairs to use your bathroom, but it's still not a problem. And yet, despite of that, we got really generous rent discount from our landlord to make up for those inconveniences. So, it's just completely different standards. If something needs to be done, it's just done. There's no discussion. There's no begging. There's no...
Yeah, you just reminded me that a guy I know back in England, I don't know if he's had it fixed now, but up until a few months ago, he had his house sinking into the ground, a part of it, for a year, and still nothing had been done to fix it.
We've been waiting like 3 weeks with this, there were like 3 people trying to fix it. Then there was this expert. Then we were waiting almost 2 days for his expertise. Then there was this housing company inspection. Then there was this tender, and it all took, I think, 3 weeks or something. And yet, my landlord is outraged. It's unheard of for it to take so long. He's so apologetic. He even invited us for dinner to his house, which, that's from nice. What I'm told, it's not something Finnish people do very often, because he just wants to make it up in any way possible to us. And he's actually shocked, because I actually had to tell him the story of our old flats in Glasgow, because he's surprised that I'm not raging and, making angry perkele or whatever. It's this angry noise in Finnish and threatening that I'm moving out, which would I have perfectly right to do, just drop the contract and move out.
Yeah.
Because for him, it's something outrageous and unheard of. And for us, it's, wow, they are doing this so quick.
Yeah, just 3 weeks.
So yeah, it's really an eye-opener if you move out of Britain after so many years and you see that things that you were thinking they're normal are actually substandard. And
Yeah.
the fact that people in Britain accept that. Just to finish it off, I tell you one thing, because there is this problem now with rents going up as well, as you know.
Yeah.
As I was writing this piece, this thread on Twitter that ended up in my blog, out of curiosity, I went to Glasgow, a rental website, to see what are the prices of the flats now.
Mm-hmm.
And I found a flat just next to where I used to live. And this is the flat I was looking at when we were looking for a new flat, I think in 2015 or something like that. And now they want 1,100s. It was, I think, 3 bedrooms or whatever. The prices are crazy. And I've been sent by one of my readers a news item recently about some Ukrainian refugees who came to Britain. They were facing British rental market and they were trying to rent a flat that had a decent standard. And they were lowering their standards and lowering their standards and lowering their standards. And finally, after whatever it is, 8 months of war now, they decided they are coming back to Kiev, because even if they will face like power cuts and water shortages, they will still have a chance to have like better living conditions than in England. And this
sounds like a joke, but it's true.
Yeah.
Well, I would like to finish it off by asking a question. When do I come over to Finland?
Maybe in 3 weeks when our bathroom is ready. Then we have this giant guest bedroom now, so
that's
whatever
right.
you want.
Now we can travel because my English boyfriend has finally got his passport back after renewing it. It only took 6 months and many calls and emails to the office, but now he has his blue passport, so we can travel again. So expect visits soon.
Good. And you expect that we will be stuck with him in the queues for British people?
Yeah.
Or just go and wait for him in duty free or whatever?
Exactly, yeah. That's probably something else we should talk about for another episode.
Yeah, we can do that, because I've been traveling a lot recently and I can tell you a few things.
I can imagine.
But meanwhile, I'm sorry for our poor British friends that we again told them the truth. But what we can do, I think that's why we are doing that. We want you to open your eyes, because until you know what's wrong with your country, you cannot fix it.
Yeah, exactly. We are here for you.
So thank you for listening to another episode of our podcast, and we will see you, or you will hear us in a week.
Bye.
Bye.